Islam, can you hear me now? Great. Islam, I'm waiting for Ms. Rainey to press 1 so that he can come in as co-host. Islam, Ms. Rainey, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You there?
Yes, I had a little problem with this board right now, and I'm trying to bring Cujo in, but I cannot hear him, so I'm going to try to unmute and mute him back again. Here to bring him in.
Okay. All right.
All right, yeah. Mercury is Mr. All right. Oh, there you are. I had to just reboot it. I just had to redo it. All right. Islam, we're all here. I got Cujo and Brother Ms. Raheem. You're both there, correct?
Yeah, we here. I'm here.
All right, because I got a text. I couldn't bring you in for a minute, but Mercury is in retrograde, so let's blame it on that for the moment. I did have to go to a different board. I opened up two, so from one computer and one on the other. So this one's working. The other one is not. So I'm going to stick here and be prepared as much as I can for our broadcast tonight, which really is kind of going to be, what do we call it, freestyle, but there are a few things we definitely want to talk about tonight. But before we do any of that, we all want to put out some good vibrations of love, truth, peace to Sister Anna Eve. Her mother did pass on, and so what I would like to do very quickly here is just read very quickly, dedicated to her and to her family.
Hold on, not to cut your wisdom, not to cut. But that was the mandatory moment of silence in the beginning. Let's say that.
How about that? Thank you. That was the mandatory moment of silence. That's correct. All right. I tell you, divine law governs all of it.
All of it.
Yes, there's one for that. So let's just take a second. Chapter 4. I'm going to read up to verse 8, actually from 2 to 8. When John was deeply grieved, he wept, and Nathanael said to him, "It is not well to weep because of death. Death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. No language can describe a mother's work, and yours was tried and true. But she was not called sent until her tasks were done. The cause of death are always for the best, for we are solving problems there as well as here, and one is sure to find himself where he can solve his problems best." Islam. We already gave the silence, and we just want to, put out some good vibes and give her some strength. She's got to be strong right now, very strong right now. And y'all know that she's a strong sister. We knew she's a strong sister. Islam? Can I get an Islam from you, brother? All right. So she needs all the strength plus some right now. All right. So I don't know what you brothers might want to put on the table, but I have to just say this. We all know, and we knew this. The prophet said himself, he said, listen, you're going to have your own press to, what was the word he used, to deal with, I don't have the exact quote, the avalanche.
Shovel ourselves. Yeah.
Say that again?
No, you were saying to shovel ourselves out of the avalanche?
Yeah, Thank you, Joe. That's what I was looking for, the word to shovel. You're going to have your own press to shovel yourself out of the avalanche of lies that will be heaped upon you daily. And it's funny because there's so much going on daily, not just for, us as Moors or the Moorish nation, because everything that goes on this American land, really, we need to understand that it is about our nation. This is our ancestral estate. Now, I realize that we don't realize that, or we haven't known that, but it's the truth. And, when you look at some of the stuff going on and you have a certain knowledge, it's almost like Happy the Clown stuff going on. You listen to some of the things that are being said, and it's so, oh, my gosh, what's the word? It's almost like folly. It's not real, but yet it is real. But then to some extent it's not, because you don't really get the real truth of what really is happening, or the experience, because maybe you're not present at these occurrences, such as the rallies that they're having. I wouldn't want to be present at the Charlottesville thing anyway, but Charlottesville, Virginia thing. And I'm not saying that kicked off anything, because it's always been there. All that is hidden is becoming to be unveiled, not revealed or revealed, but unveiled or unveiled. And so it's all there. But I listen to these things. I listen to the address of the president of U.S.A., who is the trumpet, and he's doing his job. All he's supposed to, look, this is all prophesied, biblically and otherwise, or ancient writing-wise, because that's really what that is. And he just says what everyone to say. But when you read, the truth, but when you read you don't even really have to read in between the lines anymore. It's just blam, right in your face. And you see how, like I said, how even that is almost like folly. Now, I'm not saying that it's not serious situation. It is. It's so serious that it's not serious, and it's so, I don't know how to say it. It's so complex that it's simple, and so simple that it's complex type thing, because when you listen to what's being said, you realize how ridiculous it is. How, like even this last address to the nation, I think it was last night. Even the pastors were saying, "Wow, it was just so simplistic. It was no substance there, not really, except that I heard, and it's true, from his mouth. Well, we can't really, now listen to this, we can't really talk about bringing peace in other places when we don't have peace right here. Well, how about that? Now, who realized that? Because a lot of these other people in other places, they look at it the same way. It's like, it's ridiculous. Like, don't even come over here with this stuff. Don't even, like, we think there's this great power that the U.S.A. has, when we don't see that it's really dwindling. It's really not what we think it is. But if you believe the hype, as they say, then guess what? You believe it. You can write into it anything that you want. Anything that you want to see or don't see. Hold on 1 second. I'm just answering. There you go. So now the other thing is the eclipse. Now, we talked about that Sunday, so we don't have to really get too much into that, because the broadcast we did on Sister Standing in the Law covered a great deal of that. But after it actually happened yesterday, I happened to be listening to them broadcast about it, and after the effect, they were saying how the experience was, and I couldn't believe my ears when I heard the newscaster say, "Wow, it was so beautiful, it was so magnanimous that there are people who were atheists who are now going to convert to religion." She didn't say Christian. She didn't say what type of religion. She just said to religion. And I guess it was meant for me to hear that, because in my mind I'm thinking, all right, so you just saw the moon and the sun reflecting, right? And you're saying that that's religion. You're right, because that's what it's always been. So I thought that was a little, now someone else may have heard that and didn't get it and thought it was like, a cliche like, oh, man, this is so crazy, I'm going to get religion now. Literally, that's what they meant. Because literally and factually, that is the old-time religion and the present. But that is what it's meant when you hear that. So when I heard them say that, I was like, wow. Now you got all kinds of things going on everywhere. You got people, the other thing that I wanted to say is as a result of and I know you brothers might have a comment on this, as a result of the comment or I guess you could call it a comment, the forced statement that Trump had to make regarding the Charlottesville, Virginia debacle of Mars energy and destructive energy that was going down, of which those were the so-called hate groups, fighting with each other or marching, and then the other modern Europeans, we're talking for the most part, who are against such activities. Those are, as the prophet said, Europeans that help in 1 or 2. So they were against that activity, and they began fighting each other, hate group after hate, or so-called hate group after hate group, fighting each other, right, and running over each other with cars. And I remember we briefed it last time, but I just got to say this because it came to me that as a result of him making a statement seemingly to be against the, quote, hate groups, when they were the ones that he riled up or that became riled up at the time of the campaign to get him, quote unquote, elected, those hate groups, those people are upset about that. So I got a phone call from a fellow Moor concerned, and I know that if anyone is concerned, there's a whole lot of people that's concerned, because if it's all in your mind, it's all in the air. It's all one universal mind bank. That's why sometimes we be colliding with thoughts and stuff, because it's all up there. And so they called to mention, oh, my goodness, is this how it's going to be? Is this how it's going to be? They're raising a Confederate flag, and is this how it's all going to turn now? And my mind was thinking, wow. First of all, that flag is the British flag that had that look at it. You can see it looks very similar to it as well to this day, although they've altered it to some degree. It's the British flag that had the modern Europeans in slavery. That's first number one. So they're waving a flag that means we want to keep slavery, which are the states, I think it was about 7 of them, that did not want to stop slavery, and that's the flag they use. So as Moors, we should know where these things come from. But with that being said, now, why are Moors concerned about the fact that this group of people are raising that flag when what they ought to be concerned about is their instruction to raise their own, which is the flag of the people of this land, the Moorish flag? So if it's so important or concerning about a group of people who pick up a flag that means something to them, why isn't it just as important for you to pick up the flag that means something to you in the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, which is the exact polarity of all of that that's going on? And that's the question now, that came to my mind. Why aren't we, we had that instruction a while ago, but we're more concerned about the fact that they picked up something. Now, I'll tell you, they're probably going to try to rain down. They're angry. It's just, this is the shaking up that has to happen, that's going to happen. And the blood in the street that the prophet talked about, again, it's not ours. It's definitely going to be from those incidents. I mean, if they can run over each other in cars and helicopters crash and all that stuff, and that destructive energy lives like that, well, yeah, it's about to go down. So, and prophecy fulfilled in that matter. And the other thing is I had another concern about when are we going to be recognized as a nation. Now, I was really and the person who asked me that, I don't know if they're listening or not, because it's not personal. It's just that question is a question that obviously people have. When are we going to be recognized as a nation? Like, what are we thinking? Who is it? If we are already recognized as a nation, albeit that we're in disorganization, which means organize a nation. We're not doing that well. I mean, we're not doing that because we're still arguing about whether or not we are a nation. And so we have to be, concerned about where we are, yes. But if we take these types of positions and don't know that it's already been done, it's been done, then with that type of thinking, you'll never see it, ever. So, some people can attribute it to us being lazy. Some people contribute it to us just wanting to acquiesce because we're lazy or because we're in fear or whatever it is that, motivates one to think like that, or because we are in lack of knowledge. And that much we do know. And that lack of knowledge, as we had talked about on, I don't know which show this was, but we said it's the lack of knowledge that causes the misery. So I just thought those things were interesting at this point. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, particularly about the, because my thought is that this has to be, I don't want to say the beginning because it's always been there, of this fighting between modern Europeans fighting each other. And the other thing, well, we really shouldn't talk about that right now. I'll bring that up later. But this whole thing that's being exposed with them fighting each other, and that what we need to do about that. So I don't know what your thoughts are about that, because I honestly think that they may rain down on the White House and try to burn it down once again. That's what I'm seeing. And the question we need to ask is, what are we going to do? Hope we're not in that mix, or think we need to be in that mix, because that's where all the things are going to be agitated and everything is going to come out to where it's supposed to be, and then at some point thereafter or soon to come, it will be all in your hands, regardless to the condition that you're in. It will be. And then the question that ought to ask of yourself is, what are you going to do? Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. I think that's probably the most important part as to what it is are like that we're gonna, what position are we gonna be in if it goes down? Because, like you were saying earlier, Noble Drew Ali already put certain things out into the ethers, and enough things have manifested for us to, highly consider that, this man was on it based on what he told us. Again, it's an infighting thing going on with them now, because, Europeans know. I was watching, they had this interview with somebody talking with one of these KKK people or whatever, and like the European was straight telling them that you guys are wrong or whatever, time to get out the sheets and stuff like that and stop playing with, race stuff, because we're all human beings and all that stuff. So the world is leaning toward Noble Drew Ali's program of uplifting everybody. Nobody's going to have a position of, they're on some subordinate whatever, because, like the sun shines good, the sun shines on the good, and the chemtrails bother the people who are also spraying the chemtrails. So there's no escape, everybody's drinking Fukushima water right now. That's just what it is. Everybody's involved. So either everybody's going to take a position for humanity, or there will be no humanity. you know. And all it takes is a meteor or whatever to hit this thing, and you know it's over. And then we'll start the process over again because we fell so low doing BS, not honoring the foremothers and forefathers, you know, taking these uncivilized positions, trying to force it on the civilized world, being in supreme states of ignorance, drinking cough syrup and coke and stuff like that. Like, clearly the world does not need that. And if we're the majority in the world, then don't be surprised if we're the cause for the destruction, because our mindset is what shapes the reality. Nobody else's. Everybody else is feeding off of us. You know what I mean? Hip-hop was BS. Now it's in every single commercial. Everybody hated, you know, the quote-unquote Rastaman because his hair and he's dirty and stuff like that. Now everybody wants to know how to cook Ital food and how to be vegetarian and vegan. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's that time of what El Haj said, chickens coming home to roost right now. Those who are in the truth chicken coop, they're going to be straight. All those who are in the lying chicken coop, don't worry, you got yours coming. Because it's only a matter of time before nature steps in to handle this, since people don't want to handle it. Right? Since people want to pretend like they can't do certain things, people want to play this game that they can't be humanitarian. They have to wait for some whatever to make them be humanitarian, right? You know, the world needs assistance right now. And really and truly, you know, all these things happening is really a plea to the ones who are able to do something, the ones who do care, the ones who do have sincerity. You know, all the negative that we see is for us to get our shit together so that people could be inspired to be better and do better and think better and get themselves in a place where they can feel good about living. You know what I mean? Like, mad people don't feel good about living. They're not happy. Life sucks and all that type of stuff. But, you know, you just had the eclipse yesterday. First time in 30 whatever years or 80 years or whatever the hell it is. You know what I mean? Like, things are happening universally, celestially, to let us know that these are amazing, great times. If you think something's wrong with you, that you're seriously disconnected from the ancestors, from the universe and everything else. Because it's an amazing time to be able to be where we are, to witness certain things that are happening from a galactic perspective. Like, it's a beautiful time to be around when these things are happening, because, you know, these things aren't going to be happening regular. They're going to be becoming more and more harder for you to have access to, because these people know where the power lies, right? That's all the people who didn't get to, you know, go see the eclipse because there was clouds and all that type of stuff, you know, and then all the people who were able to and got nothing from it, but, oh, wow, look at the shadow of the stuff, and that's it. That's all you got out of it? That's it? You got a good picture?
Right.
That's all you got, a picture. And then we're looking at the fact that how much things you miss trying to make sure the picture's focused.
Oh, yeah. The distraction.
Like, you know what stuff you miss putting your eye through that thing to try to get the good picture, or, you know what I mean? You know, hitting the screen so the little box could turn green so you can get the good picture with the focus and all that type of stuff. You know what stuff you just missed? That if you were sitting down in solitude, you would have got pictures that you don't want to capture on some device.
Indeed.
You know. So, you know, with all the stuff going on, you know, people getting caught up in you know, the illusionary things that's happening, like this guy's a president of some government or whatever. Like he says something, it means something. You know?
Well, you know people don't get what you're saying when you say that. They're like, what you mean? He's the president. Because they even think that he is their president. Right.
Right. And it goes back to that thing of the people who are disconnected from the ancestral assistance, you know, the divine intervention. Once you're disconnected from that, you're done for. You think that there's not a sliver of spirituality in you.
Not a sliver.
If you're not tied to your ancient foremothers and forefathers. You know, I mean, don't even bring them up. Don't talk about what they went through during slavery and stuff like that if you're stateless. Don't even, because all those people during slavery wanted to be free people, which is Moors. Like nobody that was in slavery is going to tell you, nah, we didn't want to be free men or free women. Nobody during slavery. Every single individual that was in that place was down to be free people. They were so down to be free people that they even followed astrology, a.k.a. North Star, to get out of slavery.
That's right.
Yep.
So they have so much honor that they're going to use astrology to get out of slavery, and all we could do is take pictures of some damn eclipse. And we're conscious because we know that it's happening, so we got a good picture of it. We got a selfie with the goddamn eclipse.
Right, and oh, now it was so beautiful. We're gonna turn to religion now. Let me say this.
Right.
Also, one thing that I want to put on the table. There was another comment, and it just came back to me, and I'll put this on the table. Concerns about, you know, of us not being organized. Well, we better get organized spiritually first because of divine being first. And that we depend on the Europeans. We're dependent on them. Well, let's think about this for a second. So that's a good question to ask. You're dependent on them for food, for instance, and stuff like that. Okay, when their food is poison, the food that they provide is poison, the medicine that they provide kills you as a result of the food that they provide that's poison, and you're worried about depending on that. I mean, is that something to think about, or you know, do we feel that it's so hopeless that we have to hold on to someone that we think we're depending on to provide us with food that's poison and medicine that kills? Like, what, you know, what causes us to think that that's okay to do, or, you know, we should hang in there because we got to depend on that?
I would say being mentally detached from the land, like lack of national mind state, you know, like, because there's nothing wrong with moving in the metropolis and whatnot, but for the most part, if you have your own land, you know, and I hate to even say that. Let me not even say I hate to. I don't even like to say that, because we do have, as a nation of people, when we understand who we are, like this North, South, Central America is our land. You know, the courage to actually utilize it in that mind state, knowing it's ours, that's a different story. But have we done that? Like, that wouldn't even be a question, because, you know, there's still parts of North America where there's produce growing so abundant, you know, even though we are not, quote unquote, technically growing it, the fact that that potential is there, you know, and there's so much virgin land that I think that for the most part, most of us are in the mind state that if we don't get it stamped by the European, that is not true. and they won't take that position of like, look, this is our land, you know. I would say it's different reasons to have certain allies, but correlating back to what you were saying about Trump and those other European pale-skinned nations of Europe fighting each other, you know, that this is just another aspect of history repeating itself, because you got to remember it was the Confederate and the Union. You know, I'm not saying Moors didn't have a part in that, because Moors had British allies and other allies, you know, of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. But for the most part, the thing about both of those, the Union and the Confederates, is that in certain instances, they were not recognizing a lot of Moors. They were not recognized as being free people. So even again, with that contraband decision, which was a very important thing, it was like the Union, right? They had escaped from the Confederates, which was like their cousins or whatnot that they was bickering with. They had escaped from the Confederates to the Unions, and they was basically like, well, we're not going to recognize you as free. So either way you look at it, whether you know you're talking about the Union or the Confederates who still rep that today, you know, neither one was really trying to see too many free people, whether that included their own, like, because they were enslaving their own, you know, and others. So I would say this time just stay out the way, because you had different, I would say, tribes of the Moorish nation fall because they had allies amongst Europeans. And then you had Europeans who had Moorish allies. So by default, everybody was fighting each other. And basically that was like the essence of even the world wars. It was a lot of European nations fighting each other. And by default, us taking up sides with them and doing that, you know, by default there had to be major losses taken, because you had Moors on both sides of each allies, the Confederate and the Union. So somebody was bound to lose out big time, you know. And when you consider the fact that you have Moors on both sides of those parties, if you will, the Confederates and the Union, somehow, some way, it was going to be some Moors who took L's and some Moors who win. And, you know, that being the case, this is why there were certain Moors that they never recognized as free, even no matter what party they was working for. They didn't want to see them be free, because they had a whole industry based off of free labor. And not all Moors were enslaved either. So, I mean, I just say that to say that, look, if the Europeans are fighting amongst each other in these days and times, just let them do what they're doing. That's what all I'm saying, because I'm not full of hate or disgust or dislike. I just know the principles of international law. You know, let those nations that abuse the pale-skinned nations of Europe, if they're going through it, let them go through it. Everybody went through it before, so this is an aspect of history repeating itself. So we don't have to repeat history by taking up sides and us by default taking L's as a nation by default, because there's so many fractions. Everybody's not going to win, specifically in those other affairs. So, you know, that being the case, Trump's administration is falling apart on him every single way you look. You know what I mean?
Did you say that a whole staff of council have walked out this last week?
Yeah,
the whole staff?
His council on the arts and humanities, 16 of them. You know what I mean? Walked out on him. Yeah, they retired. They resigned. They resigned. You know, with a letter, and suggested that he resign too. You know, so no, they did. In their resignation letter, they requested that if he didn't understand their position, that based off the fact he didn't understand understand is more cause for him to resign. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is. But like I said, you know, you had different wars going on, battles going on, and everybody needed allies. And I'm not saying that to say that, you know, it's anything wrong with the concept. Like Noble Drew Ali said, you know, there were some Europeans helping me. Why not you? You know, and then you have, if you go back in further times, that was applicable on both sides of those who took up certain arms. So even like with the, we was talking about the Treaty of St. Louis and whatnot, you know, there were certain aboriginals who were upset about that alleged treaty that they was trying to hold them to. And because of that, they took up certain allied forces with the British or the Britons or the modern Britons. And off of that, you know, when they lost the Civil War or whatnot, you know, a lot of allies of the British did too. Just like with World War II, you know, when the Germans, the French, you know, and different European nations was fighting amongst each other, the runaways, or, you know, what they call the United States, who basically declared their independence from their mother country, right? When that war was over, you know, it was a lot of aftermath that went with that, and only certain nations who got higher respect, like Germany, you know. Like Germany didn't have to pay for the restoration of the place. You know, they took care of them. So it's like even in war, there's certain levels of respect that you're never going to receive just because they just move on a certain code. So my thing is, they'll do all this destruction and things like that, but they only going to feel obligated to repair a few, just like they showed you that at the end of World War II, you know. So, I mean, these are different things when you look at it to keep in mind as far as who is who and what is what in international law present day. Because remind you, you know, the last eclipse was in the 1800s, late 1800s, and we're seeing how certain energies have been going since then. You know, that's a universal force, a universal energy. Like, that's the natural batteries for the universe, if you will. You know, the sun and the moon. So there's many ways to look at what just happened, but I was saying, and I wanted to also say this just because we're talking about multiple things, you know, big acknowledgement to your presentation tonight, Cujo, on the YouTube live stream. Me personally, I suggest you keep doing YouTube. It was really accessible.
That's the word.
Yeah, keep doing that because it's easy, it's accessible, you know, and you don't have random commercials and things like that, so that's a good thing. But like I mentioned in there, and this knowledge didn't even hit me till like about 4 or 5 o'clock this morning, and I was studying something else that led me to this, so I wasn't even aware, or I didn't really have it embedded in mind like that, even during the eclipse. But I left a post in the chat room about the fact that, you know, Nat Turner, that's something unique to Nat Turner because, or I thought so because of the fact that when he got that little so-called rebellion going on with about 80 other enslaved people, that he was influenced by divinity or divine inspiration by witnessing 2 eclipses. Like he witnessed one on February 11th, and then he witnessed another one on August 13th. And then on August 21st, that's when they went in and got the so-called rebellion going on. And I'm like, for an eclipse to happen on the 21st, the day they got that rebellion going, you know what I mean? Like that was also saying something in light of the fact, you know, we just did my honorary Marcus Garvey broadcast last Thursday. That wasn't even on my mind then. Like, it literally just hit me, like, this morning. And I was like, wow, that's saying something, you know, because a lot of people, you know, and not that, I mean, it said something. It wasn't a big deal because what did they, 70 out of, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions, that's, you know, that's not a real remedy. But I understand, you know, the situation. Like, you know, they wasn't trying to have it. Like you were saying, everybody wanted to be free by any means. And I just found that unique, you know, that he was inspired by watching.
He did that. He did his what he did when he went on his spree was after a total solar eclipse.
Yeah. Yeah,
wow.
He saw two of them, one February 11th, and then he saw one the same year on August 13th, and then on August 21st, which this total solar eclipse that just passed was on August 21st. But he saw that on the 13th of August and 11th of February and August 21st, they started going in on the pilgrims. You know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
So, and that's not even to suggest violence or anything like that. That's just a fact of history. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I know I'm not the only one with that knowledge, but I didn't come across it till like 4 or 5 in the morning this morning. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. I just found that to be unique. You know.
Mhm. You know, there was one other thing that oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Susan.
No, I was just gonna say another unique thing about the so-called Nat Turner insurrection was the freemen involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, if they're trying to get off the plantation and all that, and there's freemen with them, they're saying they're slaves, but there's freemen that aren't connecting themselves to slavery, but are with the insurrection. Right? So don't get caught up in the slave revolt. Like, you know, it's no different than, you know, the so-called blacks today against the whatever, and then the Moors are against the same. We're against the same system. We're just identifying the party. We're not playing spook guy. Who did it?
Right.
We're identifying who did it. You know what I mean? So the freemen's position of being with the insurrection was to go against the establishment as freemen, not as black slave guys.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So exactly. Somebody's position is gonna have more of an impact. Somebody's blow is gonna be the knockout blow, and somebody's blow is gonna be just a rib shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nothing against it, but correct the status. Look at Toussaint Louverture. This is the same concept as Nat Turner. The same idea, but you know, the Aboriginal indigenous people in their proper status, they were able to do their voodoo and all that type of stuff to also assist in the insurrection or the overthrow of the foreign invaders. You know, they're also able to use astrology to know when and where these people are going to be before they even got there.
Right. That's right. Wow.
Right.
That reminds me. So go ahead, sir.
No, just because like the mentality is a insurrection of slaves, but no, among them were scientists and stuff like that. Among them were occultists. Among them were people who, you know, they didn't deal with like Salem witch trials. They might have got a pass. They didn't get burned at the stake, so they still got to hang around. You think they gave up that voodoo and stuff they were doing? Because remember, like, the ones who decided to take the lynching or take the burning at the stake, they knew that they were coming back again. They'll be burning at the stake like, I'll be back to get you guys and shit like that.
While they're burning, right?
While they're burning. While they're swinging on the tree. They're trying to give everybody the evil eye before they go out. You know what I mean? King Tut's curse and all that stuff relived in real time. So just to say, broaden the perspective when, you know what I mean, they start going into the black, whatever, slave stuff and all that, that it wasn't only slaves in there. It wasn't only dumb nigger didn't know their stuff. There was the ones in there who knew how to beat the drum. They'll go in their little forest and stuff like that. They'll do their little rituals, beat the drum at night to themselves just because they knew what was up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so we lost the culture and stuff like that and some slavery. If we're going to talk slavery, okay, fine, let's talk slavery. Well, it was metaphysicians and occultists and witch doctors and those type of people who were the slaves, if we're going to talk slavery stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I just got to make that was good, man. You back? Okay, gotcha. I just want to make a comment real quick, because you talked about astrology again, and I forgot to mention that I was also listening, and this stock market guy, I do not remember his name. It might be European. Don't remember his name, but they were interviewing him and asking him about what is the effect on the solar eclipse. Excuse me. And on one hand, trying to keep astrology out of it, but really couldn't because they had to bring the guy in to talk about will the stock market go up, will it go down, or whatever like that. And they said, well, you know, I know you're an astrologer, and they're trying not to give credit to the astrology having anything to do with it, but the person who is the stock marketer, who is an astrologer, he says, well, you can say what you want to, but I do use astrology to make these determinations, and I am the number one stock market person or whatever. I can't think of the word, whatever they call it. He says my predictions are top number one, which is why they even had him on the show. So look at this. So they're admitting that they're using astrology now. This is all coming out. And that was just another thing that I wanted to put on the table. And also, what do you think of this caught my glance not long before the show, where they did a report on him, and I didn't know this. See, I didn't know that when Obama was in office, as far as how they were handling the so-called immigration situation at the quote-unquote borders. I didn't know that Obama had the rule out where you could catch them but let them go. In other words, he was stopping them at the border but not apprehending them or imprisoning them at all. I didn't know that was what he had put in place. Now this administration is saying,
did that with a lot of natural living things. My fault. Just so you know, they implemented that. That's an op. They implemented that on a lot of natural living things, like even with certain animals that they catch. They got a program they call catch and release. But what they do is, like, let's say if they catch like a shark or something like that, they'll tag the shark with a GPS so they can observe and study the movement of that particular shark. So when they go back out, they know the shark by whatever name they gave it or whatnot, because it got that tracking device in them. Like, that's a fact that is an operation that is in effect. Not just for human beings, though. Also for animals. But I didn't want to cut your thought.
Well, I'm just saying. So now they're doing this update report. Yes, you know, we're down 70% or something to that, down very low. on people, immigrants coming across the borders, and of course they act like they're concerned about them coming across our borders, to commit crimes or whatever. But it's very interesting because actually they're the immigrants, like really. But my mind is thinking if it was in the previous Obama administration, that you would catch them and stop them, but not, and then release them, so therefore not apprehend them, not kidnap them, nothing like that, then what are they doing with these people that they're apprehending? And what exactly are they doing with them if they're catching them, quote unquote? 800, I think about 800 they counted in one a day or something crazy like that. What are they doing with them?
Probably giving them Christian names and documents.
Putting them into slavery.
Right, and then yeah, for real. And then they're doing that because, again, like we were told years ago, the whole concept of the prison industrial complex is energy. That's why they house them in a cell, because these things are batteries, and they are using that to, remember, all the big corporations are in the prison business.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's bigger than go to jail because you did something.
Right.
that's not what that is anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a warehouse where, again, melanin is the predominant substance in there. Melanin is dominant in the prison system.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Right? They get their free labor, they get their telemarketing, whatever. They get whatever it is that they, you know what I mean, really don't want to pay for, but could get done, behind closed doors. Because remember, prison is closed door. You don't know what's going on in there. Nobody knows what's going on there unless you go in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's again, things already established in the making. This is why Drew Ali wanted us to have our own stuff. We wouldn't have to this would not even be anything on our mind. What people are, statues they're tearing down and stuff. What does that have to do with Moors? Like, what does that have to do with, if we have our own stuff going on, right? Like, okay, we're supposed to be government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nine came established, whatever, 1913. Okay, so it's 2017 right now, right? There wouldn't be no Christmas and all that stuff that we're dealing with. Like, we wouldn't be part of that world as being the Moorish nation. Like, we wouldn't be going to, we would have a Moorish Walmart by now.
Yeah.
Like, we would have a Moorish gas station that we're going to pump gas at. Moorish cars that we're driving. That's like Japanese got Japanese cars, and you know what I mean? Like, that's what it would have been. But since that didn't manifest completely, why don't we, let's move towards that. But it's real easy. Getting rid of the BS that we got used to and get with the real. Just like they're saying, if they're gonna relate Nat Turner to some eclipse and stuff like that, clearly these people know what's up and they're playing games. Because that's a big deal. If you're making that relation, if you're making the relation that, hey, the last time that there was an eclipse like this was 1918 or whatever, around the same time of Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey and, our progression as a race. and then that thing is happening again right now, and then, but, you know, we're dealing with what, regression? It's opposite of what it was? Something's definitely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because from that time to now, it should be magnified. But it's not like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good. You know what I mean? We're here to learn. You know what I mean? That's why we're here. That's why the fallen angels fell, because they went against the truth. Think there's somebody. You got wings. Get the hell out of here.
And it's going to happen, though. It's just going to be in a forced situation, and that's what, like you said, nature's just going to force it, and that's what's happening. And that's why the prophet even said you're going to be forced to make it.
And more, you're sheltered. You know what I mean? Like, we're really not going to be touched, really, when certain stuff kicks. Like, we're not going to be touched.
Oh, tell that truth.
The Moor, one of the Moors just got kidnapped the other day. Highwaymen told him, yo, we're tired of you Moors. You know what I mean? We're tired of you guys. Like, where do you come from? What is this? You know?
You reminded me of that chant. We are the Moors, mighty Moors. Everywhere we go, everybody asks who we are and where we come from. But you're saying that, Cujo, where we come from a position that we have been silent and have not taken our place amongst the affairs of man and made our declaration and proclamation and status of life, which means your relationship to the community. You know, we act like we're afraid to say what our relationship to the community is, which is what status is in that respect, literally, softly. So you're saying it from the point that they're like, damn, we thought we had y'all all under this veil of Negro colored flag, and here you are.
But no, we really, you know, some of us really didn't fall under the spell. Some of us are really awake to the fact that we're not Negro black colored, so you're not getting me in the jurisdiction. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to kidnap to get me in the jurisdiction. And if that's the level where, you know what I mean, they're choosing to go, then, you know, that's on them in the afterlife. I mean, I can't do nothing at that point. If you're going to go to the point to say, you know what, even though you're right, we're just going to kidnap you just because we can, then you already know what you're dealing with, right? Don't get mad, because you're not going to, you know, put one in their head. This is not, you know, Minority Report movie or whatever. So the reality is we're going to have to deal with it. Jwali said at the point of a sword, these people are going to realize what's up. That's what it's going to take. You know what I mean? And at all times, our weapon is truth. Our weapon is never some stuff, you know, do something to somebody. Right? Our weapon is truth. And going back again to what we were talking about in the beginning, because that's the tool to shovel ourselves out from the avalanche of lies. That we're Negro, black colored, and all the other fraud that we adopted and believed was a reality, when it was straight fiction and we been played out of our stuff. Time to wake up, time for real. Islam to the Moors who are awake and know that they're Moors. Right? You know, Islam to the Moors who are, you know, they can't even believe that they're Moors. Stuff's happening so fast for them. Like a Moor told me a story about a Moor had an incident, right? and then sent paperwork. Didn't hear anything from the court. Called the court, and the court said the stuff's dismissed. Now, this is somebody that somebody said and they just did it. And then that's what happened to that individual on this path of, you know what I mean? And, you know what I mean? They can't even digest what just happened.
Wow. Yeah. I've seen that happen with people.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But
they're gonna get hit regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Like either you're gonna get it in your mind and you're gonna realize it now, or it's gonna be stored in the subconscious mind till later.
No. What you're saying?
And eventually you're gonna get it.
So, and what they did was sticking with principles, right? National principles, due process of law, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What they did when they did what they were told to do, and then they found out, oh shoot, it's kind of like, wow, that worked. I can't believe that worked. They did it with sticking with national principles. I'm asking this question, and due process of law. Is that correct?
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Because that's really all that. That's all it is.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say and get clear with the people. A lot of Moors are delving into, adding on to, dealing with commerce, putting on their feelings in it, and I mean, it is about them, whatever occurs, but they're not sticking with national principles and due process of law because that's all it is about. They add commercial process things in it that have nothing.
It's not like you can. It's not like it doesn't work or can't mesh, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it does work. Like it could mix and mingle, but it's not necessary to mix and mingle these different processes with your birthright. You can really just use your birthright, but it's based on, do you know what your nationality and birthrights are? If you don't know, then it's not going to work how you think it's going to work because, you know, it's in your mind as what it is, but it's not manifesting. You know what I mean? It's like you have the spinning wheel, and you're making the clay pot, and your stuff doesn't look like the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And the picture one looks pretty good, and yours is kind of wobbly or whatever, you know. So don't go with the wobbly.
Mm-hmm.
Know for sure. It's like concrete solid that you know. Know that it's from the mind, it really manifested into something that you can actually see tangible. Right? Like the more that got the stamp dismissed for himself or herself because they went through that fire and came out the other end to get the dismissed paper.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, sometimes they're going to grind you down because they already know that certain people, they can't just get the pass.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like certain people on the birthright, you're going to have to suffer. you wanna, you're Moor and all that stuff. All right, we're gonna see how much of a Moor you are, especially if you have nigger family. Especially if you have nigger family and you're trying to put them on and they don't want to get it or whatever, they want to be stuck in there or whatever, oh, you're going to get it. You're going to get tested if you say you're Moor. And time will tell. You know, like they say, do the time, don't let the time do you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they will try to grind you down because they know that it is over. It's going back into the hands of the Aboriginal and Indigenous people.
Yep.
It might not be in our lifetime, but trust me, the transfer is going to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Because the game is over.
Mm-hmm.
The game is over.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not. Moors isn't a secret anymore. Like Moors was a secret at one time.
Yeah, tell it.
Like saying the word Moors was a secret. That was a myth and a legend. These guys, turbans and riding horses and dexterous and all this type of stuff. That was a myth and a legend. Like you don't know what it is until you have one of your brothers from the east run up to you, give you a hug or whatever like that, and want to take a picture to send back home.
Mm-hmm.
Because they see that you know what's up. And you're not playing that black stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like the Eritrean family as in, you know, their nation. Told this story before, but to stress the point, how they just go with whatever, right? So they're telling me, yes, we have to support whatever, because we're black too. I'm like, what do you say? It's like, we're black too. We're black people just like you. I'm like, no, I'm not black. What do you mean you're black? I'm like, no, I'm not black. Yes, we're all black people or whatever. I'm like, where are you from? Like, Eritrea. You got black people there? You guys say black people in Eritrea? Like, no. But because we're here, we're going to say black people. And I was like, no. It doesn't work like that. That way is going to get you in trouble. Because that guy's jacket is black and you don't look like his jacket. And all of them start laughing. Like holding their stomach laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they realize how stupid it was to call themselves something that they're not, when they know that they're Eritrean. Like later, like have his hand on my shoulder, like laughing, like, hey, that was a good one. That was a good one. Yeah, we're not black. We're Eritrean. I love my culture and stuff like that. And our people playing like we don't know what's up. You know what I mean? Like we don't know what's up. Moor's been telling our people what's up. Just like even with you know what I mean? Like people are watching with Taj reading the Pope letter and stuff like that at House of Ram, right? And in the Pope letter is stuff Taj said 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So how come, like, you're not repping the real? How come people are coming up with concepts as far as, like, putting out information online via website that I know they stole from RVBey publications? Because it wasn't put out in that way before, right?
Right.
But they don't want to recognize the real.
And you know what? That's fine, because if it's on RVBey publication, it is meant for the public to have, and I trust them that they will do something with it. Good.
You better do something with it.
Yes.
You better do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody has a place to get this out to our people. Everybody can influence somebody in some type of way to consider what it is that we present. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And again, like we were saying earlier, people are waking up, but they're not really up yet. They're just getting the blinky eyes. They're just starting to wipe the crust out and stuff like that. They're not up yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right.
they have to come to the breakfast table yet. They got to go brush their teeth and wash their face first.
Yeah. Teeth not brushed or nothing like that. Don't come around the table. Don't come downstairs with your teeth not brushed. Right?
Oh, boy.
The darkness, when you wake up to the light, it'll blind your eyes for a second temporarily.
Right.
Like you won't even be able to see right coming straight out of pure darkness into the light like that. You could definitely tamper with your eyes.
And you know something? We still think, believe, know, confidently so that, you know, this is real and it is going to go down. And, you know, where others may be, you know, I don't know if I want to say skeptical, not sure, whatever it is. Like you said, they haven't finished brushing their teeth or washing their face if they're not ready to come and sit down at the table. And now build, this is to say, and act and do, you know, and be active. Yes. But we, you know, and they may look at us, and that's why they attack, like, oh, no, I went down and I tried this and it didn't work. And I said, no, you didn't work, because it's more than just, like you're saying, it's more than just that. You have to have this within your spirit and within your the spirit of the Lord within you, and that's what comes out. And then that's what is the foundation, the firmament, you know? And, you know, so some will want to attack and say, you know, we're just saying this and whatever like that, you know, when that's not it at all, you know. But it may appear to others that some more, especially those who are, you know, presenting and making as much information and sharing and building and doing things like, you know, talk with these broadcasts or whatever, books, whatever, you know, like, oh, they're just saying that. No, find it to be true. So then if the truth is the light and the answer, as you say, and as we know it is, then somehow you have to find your way to that light. You know what I'm saying? Somehow you have to find a way to utilize that, and it has to become a part of you. And then you can effectuate it. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just going back to, you know, man doesn't know about being told. It's a little more than that for
exactly.
Yeah.
It's always a little more than what you thought it was.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Because again, like we're right where we're supposed to be, you know what I mean? So don't get caught up with, you know what I'm saying, like because you don't see a Moorish hospital, stuff's bad. Like stuff's great right now. From where we were or whatever, being in a dead mindset to where we are now, we know something, got some knowledge of self, could put our chest up like, yeah, we're Moors, and actually people be down with it, you know, opposed to always having this thing of people are racist against us and having this victim mentality, and like you see our people have, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You just have to recognize certain things as what it is instead of playing around with trying to figure out, you know, that we need to do the formula for the, no, like, you know, if it's common sense, like, okay, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? Put the gas in, jump in, let's go. You know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Maybe check in which one. Well, you know, the unleaded is it's all the same stuff. You think they really got some 3 different gas right there? You know what I mean?
Right.
The performance gas and all this type of stuff? Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you put the performance gas in there to know that that's performance. I'm sure you put the cheese in those chips to know that, yeah, that's really cheese flavor. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When these people play around, that make you go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You're allergic to sugar. You need to put down the sugar and stop eating certain stuff. Because when you distract yourself from the birthright, anything could happen. You're free game. If you're not moored to your nationality and your birthrights, you are free game for anything. They can tell you $5,000 for a package. They can tell you you're not Moors. Just put your name on this thing and get indexed, and then you'll really be identified as somebody and all this crazy stuff.
Oh,
right?
You brought up index.
Give us your social number. Send your social number over so we can put that on a list so we can count you as somebody.
Right.
I thought you're a Moor, though. What do you mean you're using the social to get recognized on some chart for something? What do you mean?
See, that's the key. Recognize. That is a key word right now. Recognize. Because as I said earlier, someone had called and said, when are we, going to be recognized as a nation? And I'm like, what the? No, obviously there's no facts of history and of what this is, what this actually is. But you said it. Recognized by your SSN number. Recognized as a Moor with a birth certificate. Recognized with, you just said index. That must be a process someone I think was using. You got to be indexed and you got to be registered. You register property. You don't register people. Natural blood beings.
That it seems simple, but I don't get it. Like, because from what I understand, in order to get quote unquote indexed, you have to give the social.
What is that?
You can't do it without giving the social.
So where do you index to then?
According to, somebody is the world court judge of some world court, something or the other, and, they have the power because they have the He-Man sword or something. I don't know what the hell's wrong with these guys.
That's like one of those sales calls that come through or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're right. Halfway there, but not always there. So now that the people take total advantage, others take total advantage of the lack of knowledge, because all you have to do is the prophet even said it. He said, "I'll tell you what, you don't want to be unknown, just declare your nationality." Okay, how's that? Because you're going to need to do that. You absolutely are going to have to honor your own mothers and fathers and worship under your own vine and victory. You're going to have to do that much, if nothing else. If nothing else. So other people take advantage of the sporadicness of ones who will listen to this person say this or that one say that or whatever, and not the simplicity of if you register something as an example, that's property. You're not property. And so when you're saying something about someone proposed this thing for indexing with the SSN to the World Court, these people don't even know that they're even talking to anyone that has anything to do with, or they don't even know who they're talking to. It's just like a sales call, a propaganda call. You get them all the time on your phone or whatever like that. None of that is necessary for what the simplistic nature of what you have to do. So they buy into that. Then they buy into this. Then they buy into the other thing. And I think that it was made very simple. Because that's first, and then all the rest comes with it. It's like I get the emails all the time. I want to be free, and I want to get out of these diffusion contests, and I want to, once and for all, and like that. Then the first thing you have to do is be clear about who you are and what that means. And then, like, when you do declare, and definitely when you do lawful notice, which is proclamation in written form, 99.9% of all that stuff is gone, other than whatever it is that you may have valued yourself to. Otherwise, who knows what that is, and you can correct that as well. So, index. So you know a bunch of words to get an index thing with the world quarter and whatever. And was that associated with the world passport? Because on the world passport, it says on it for stateless people. I don't know if you knew that. And I know a whole lot of other people didn't pay any attention to it.
Yeah, well, they don't have. They're not affiliated, I don't think. But the idea is the same. Because again, you're dealing with individuals who realize that there's a problem. You know what I mean? Whether it's with the system, whether it's with the politicians, whether it's whatever. They know, they realize, they acknowledge that there's a problem. But nobody wants to implement Drew Ali's program. They want to do their own stuff. And yeah, you know what I mean? You might get through with doing your own stuff. I mean, not that it can't work, but, eventually dishonoring your foremothers and forefathers is going to catch up to you.
Right.
That's just what it is. So, yeah. I mean, what, were you going to risk it or just fix whatever you got to fix right now? Take what Noble Drew Ali brought, digest what he did, and then do what you do. Same thing that you plan to do, but do it under the banner of what Noble Drew Ali brought. What's the problem? What's the problem with tying yourself to what he brought? Well, because, whatever is going on with Moors, what does that have to do with Noble Drew Ali and what he brought? Like, what does that have to do with anything? You know what I mean? Drew Ali already told you that he brought you something you can't tear you up. Play around. See what's good. You think, you know what I mean? Like, we're still around. We're still around. You know how much temples open and close since we've been around? Because those are some of the metaphysical lessons that we got when we came in. Those ones. Well, he said, if you mess with this, it's going to tear you up. So if you want to get tore up, you mess with this and see what happens to you. Fine, you know what I mean? You know better than me. So you've been in this longer, so I'm going to take that as serious lesson. Don't violate. Don't get tore up because you messed with what Drew Ali brought or because you tried to whatever. You know what I mean? He was real specific with what we were supposed to do.
And that reminds me too.
Lived up to the responsibility. Very few lived up to it. But then again, he always talked about few faithful Moors and only a handful saved and all that. So it only makes sense that only a few get it.
Well,
and that's really all that matters.
The prophet said, if I could just get you to think and you free yourself now. And that reminds me also of some of the things that, all in the air because it's all in the mind. Some people have delved into these different things, different processes or whatever like that. And then they say, well, I wish I had never, this is what I recently heard. I always like that on my phone, what's there. I wish I had never done this because, they might do things like I know of someone, again, it's not personal because many people probably have done it, who thought it was so important to get their appellation changed on their job, and success did that. And so the job that they had started writing their payroll or checks in their new appellation, but they forgot to open a process, be it a bank account or whatever, that they needed to cash the daggone thing. So they had themselves in a conundrum. You see what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't a good strategy of thinking. So, I don't know. I don't know. We just go out without thinking. So
yeah, I just wanted to add on. I just wanted to add on with that whole Social Security number commerce thing. We mentioned this before, but I literally think it's that mind state opposed to just going with birthrights and natural law, like you was mentioning. That mind state is a I would say a ramification or a linear effect of certain psychological implanted thoughts. And I just think it comes from the concept of, never, I don't want to say never, but for majority of the part, them not recognizing that they were already free and dealing with Europeans as if they are still property. Like, opposed to, no, we're free now. Like, we know they did all of these things, but to understand that that's null and void from your position today, that anything they did under color of law is already null and void. I know it's a lot to deal with as far as the facts of matters and things like that, but I think that more so, a lot of people lost the concept that all power is really in the people, and that's really what it is. And
exactly.
You got people with different mind states, and they feel as though, they are, quote-unquote, citizens of the U.S.A. or United the Corporation with no connection to natural law, because that's a matrix. It's something that's not even 400 years old on land that's billions of years old, if not older than that. So, I mean, their whole connection is modern. And they have that mind state. I personally think it comes from, some psychological effects from the contraband decision. I really think that's what it is, because these Europeans would not recognize, those in that mind state or in that condition, as free people. They still recognize them as property, just property of an enemy, and I don't know, there's multiple, they're trying to say transnational now, but different international situations where everybody has their hand, or a different ingredient to throw in this melting pot. And you see that different people run after different aspects of, fading things, going back to what you were saying earlier about some of us coming back already knowing that anything external to self is not self. Like, I mean, you're connected to every living thing but you are who you are, regardless of what. So, like before, before you could really connect to a word, like there's you, even if you put a word to you or call it a name or appellation, it's you first, the I am, and then, what others to call you in civil society. And if they're still looking at people as slaves and people are taking that position of agreeing and then having to work from that position, you can see a psychological blockage going on where they feel like it's commerce first because they feel like they're still property or products of war, contrabands of war. And that's for real, So they bagged them, tagged them with numbers, numerology, to be perpetual identifiers. But nothing outside of you identifies you. And that's just natural law, regardless of what. Yeah,
I like
and
what
that's
I like the thought you brought in that if we say we're natural people, flesh and blood, tying ourselves back to our ancestors, then how is it possible that we would say or could say that we're citizens of a USA corporation that's only a few hundred years old? Right there, that just doesn't make sense.
And keep this in mind, too, that the Emancipation Proclamation, we already know it wasn't really about freedom, but this was based off of those who was contrabands of war, like denationalized Moors who would declare contrabands of war. This is what the whole Emancipation Proclamation was about. And there was actually two of them. But all it was basically saying was, all right, emancipation means to be transferred. So Unions and Confederates was beefing. The unions are like, all right, we recognize y'all as contraband, but we're not recognizing you as free people. We're just transferring you basically as our property, but y'all have a little bit more liberty. But y'all still slaves, quote unquote, but we're not returning you to the master. So that whole aspect was about the fact that they're like, okay, these are, quote unquote, people who are property of our enemies. If we let them go or don't give them asylum, these could be the same people who kill us. And therefore, with the Emancipation Proclamation and all of that, all it was saying was those Moors who were denationalized and recognized in the status of Negroes, blacks, coloreds, etc., that now they could fight for the Union Army, right, against their masters to help their cause. So this to them was a sense of freedom. It wasn't nobody really free because the Pilgrims had their own army, and at the time they didn't have any Moors in it. They was like kill and destroy everything brown,
right?
And that's what they was on. But then when they seen that they can use certain forces in certain locations because they were surrounded by enemy Confederates, it was like, well, y'all can rock with us. And what happened was, from the old times to now, at first they started off paying them, 10 notes an hour, but then they wasn't, giving them the same treatment as the Europeans or the pale-skinned nations of Europe. So while they was getting paid 10 notes an hour, they was docking 3 notes of pay out of their paycheck. You know what I mean? And so basically they was getting paid 7 because they charged them uniform care fees, while the Pilgrims was getting paid 13 with no uniform care fees. So basically to them that was a sense of freedom, that they can get off real quick on some of those who had them enslaved. But
that was for some of those who had been enslaved, because the Emancipation Proclamation actually was also freeing all those that were slaves, including the modern European. And that's one of the things that Yeah,
absolutely,
so,
including the modern European.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you work with the
they was always kind of like free to pick a side in certain aspects. Like there were certain pilgrims who was like, nah, we don't want no Negroes, quote unquote, in our army. You know what I mean? Like, because we not here, we are about our nation. We here to conquest. So automatically, you by default are the enemy. So we don't need you in our army to overthrow you, except for in certain instances as spies and things like that. But, you know, they was just being utilized, not really, you know, cared for, just utilized. And that was the difference. So, you know, when it was an option, when the Pilgrims was like, okay, we can ally up, and if this is the case, we'll even pay you for your services, but we're going to tax you for some of the services that we offer. You know what I mean? This is what it was. Yeah.
But that's one of the things that is good today, too, is that a lot of the, like as the prophet says, Europeans are helping why not you, a lot of them today realizing that they slaves under the British, or what they refer to now as English law, which is not American law, by the way, and they are today fighting and dealing with and supporting and enforcing the due process of law that was established to keep everyone from being molested. Just like the prophet said. He said, enforce the Constitution so that you are not molested by other citizens, which will be corporations, which is a subject citizen status. That's what he said to do it for. And so they're realizing that now, and they're working, you know, they're how you've never heard so much about constitutional. That's unconstitutional. That goes against the Constitution. You weren't hearing all that before. You're hearing a lot of it now and a lot of them are definitely standing on that because it's really for everybody. See, it's for everyone to preserve, protect, and secure the liberties of all people, regardless. So it is really the peace document after all the wars and the slavery on this American land. All of that. This is what it is. So when you have someone who wants to violate that, then you know who you are dealing with. And then through trickery thing with enslavement bureaucratically through, you know, their systems and paperwork, and only take advantage of you because you are not aware of that. So you got yourself involved in, you know, contracts or visas that you didn't know that you were involved in. But then at the same time, since there are adhesions earlier, and we need to get this, they're void ab initio. Period. And they're void. So, well, if you don't have anything else to add, or if you do so now, because I think maybe we should go to answering some questions that she handed to us right now. Do you have anything?
I was just saying, keep enforcing the Constitution. Remember, there was different aspects throughout, you know, the history, even after it was established. Because remind you, the so-called fugitive, because it's so contrary, you know, the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson had quote-unquote slaves, you know what I mean? All of these people. And then even after the Constitution, you still had slave acts, fugitive slave acts, and all of this going on. And I find it interesting that it was actually a European, you know, who considered himself an abolitionist, who got it going on with the habeas corpus. Also, the fact that the Civil Rights Act in the 1860s, 1870s, all of that was really about the Ku Klux Klan. Like that is a fact. That was about the Ku Klux Klan and different things that they were dealing with, because, you know, they were out there on their pale skin nation of Europe, you know, doctrine. And, you know, they had to suspend the quote-unquote habeas corpus, not for Moors, but because of the Ku Klux Klan. So that whole 1860 suspension of the habeas corpus corpus had a lot to do with the pale-skinned nations of Europe on American soil, or Pilgrims or Yankees. And I don't mean that in the sense of just Northerners, you know, Dutch, the Netherlands. That's another conversation. But, you know, it is what it is. And with that, I'll just say that when we look at the history and see what was happening and to who, because like you were saying, Europeans were enslaved too. When they were making certain bans on the habeas corpus, that was not applicable to Moors. It was the Klan in times of rebellion. The Confederate South, they've been beefing with each other, the Union and the Confederates, or the Klan and the Union, and, you know, they backdoor deals and things like that. So, you know, it's just an interesting thing when you really look at it for what it is, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Gotta know the history. If you don't know history, you don't know law. They go hand in hand. And if you really want to know about your ancestry, you have to know about European ancestry, because that really is yours. They go hand in hand also. So, that means there's a lot to study, right? A lot to know.
Absolutely. Yeah, because study yourself and not adversaries as well. You know, no, or who you thought was your adversaries, if for that matter, you know what I mean? And then you can see why it is what it is today. You know, why certain things that's going on. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing the House of Ram this Friday, and it's called Moors and Christian Powers, the First Navigators and the Patriots. That's the subtitle. Moors and Christian Powers, the First Navigators and the Patriots. And I'm telling you, what I have found and what you will find, if you haven't already, and I think we mentioned it earlier, is how history simply repeats itself and reverses, you know, things are switched around. But it is most interesting that, you know, that to know, once you get some of the history, once you get this information, you know, then you understand why things are happening. And you can't, you know, the truth, because I said it earlier, the truth is the answer to all this, because the truth is the life, right? Now, it's shine your way. So it's like once you get why, then you can acknowledge, address, and know how to move forward. It's an amazing thing. It really is. Knowledge. So we all need to have that information so that we can then, you know, be unified in the truth. That's it. It goes from there. The truth does not change. It does not pass away. And guess what else? It doesn't need an apology. Islam. So, exactly. So I'm going to open up the lines for any questions or comments. All right. Let's start with 727-286. You're live on the air. State your appellation and your question or comment. 727. You know what? I'm talking on the other. On the other. Come on, give me a second. I think I'm having a problem with this particular monitor. See if I can open up on this one. All right. Nope, they're still alive.
Yeah, another thing is when you look back at it, when the Union and the Confederates were going at each other, you know, it was Europeans wanting the heads of other Europeans. You know, that's really what it is. Europeans wanted the other Confederate Europeans. and they gave passes in certain instances, but yeah.
Let me see if 727-286, you're live on the air. Can you state your affiliation and your question or comment? All right. Not happening. We go to the next one. I know I had a little problem with the board, so let's see what's happening. 719-964, you're live on the air.
Greetings. This is Brother Bukhari calling from northwestern Mexico.
Hey. Islam.
Islam. I just was listening to the show, and I just thought I'd make a quick comment, if I may. And I don't have a question. It was something that was posed, a thought, or something to that effect that was posed earlier, and I forget by whom, but it was like someone was discussing that they're continually being asked, when are we going to see our nation function, or when is our nation going to start working, or something like that?
Be recognized. When are we going to be there? Right.
Right. And I used to wonder when I started studying, and I started going to RVBey publications. I was like, what are these people like? Is there something else that we need to look at? And so I've come to the conclusion that whenever you hear somebody say something like that, is that they're not studying. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like, for instance, if someone did some studying, let's just say if you just listen to the same story that they've been telling us, right? And that is that we were Aboriginal, indigenous people, Moors were all brought over here on boats from across the Atlantic, and some from other places in so-called Europe, from so-called Europe. That is specific. And so when you start studying and you start seeing that, wait a minute, there's no way that some of these things that this particular paradigm is stating, could have taken place. And so what I'm saying here is that whenever I hear that type of question, or I see people in chat rooms type certain things or ask certain questions, that tells me right away, where they're at mentally, in terms of, what they're looking at, what kind of questions are they asking themselves. And the same thing is true for when I run into Moors and they say certain things or they do certain things. What I would like to say is based on my experience, is that since I have, and I'd like to publicly share this, is that I think that if something were to take place, and like right now, today, and we would have some representation. But there are specific things that are going to have to take place, and a lot of people are going to have to deal with issues, some hard realities. But aside from that, you just have to know what you're doing. And the second thing that I'd like to say is, in terms of knowing what you're doing, is that this is not about a hero. This is not about one leader. Like I keep hearing the same types of things. The same type of language from our people that was used, when they were calling us colored. So we have to get this this mentality thing squared away and be ready to go. Not all of us are going to be ready to go. Not all of us are going to be able to do certain things right now. There are a lot of us in places that have a voice that you can't have a conversation with. And then again, there are a lot of us who also have a voice who you can have a conversation with. There are certain types of protocols and things that people who are functioning with some semblance of chivalry and honor and character, are going to expect and require of another Moor in good standing. And so there are a lot of things that are real and that are very important for us to recognize. But I think one of the most important things for for us to recognize as a whole, and then I'll yield the floor here, is that what is a nation? Like I would ask some of these people who, I would pose that question to them. Okay, well, give me your definition of what a nation is. Because when you are asked these types of questions by people that haven't done any studying at all, and I'm not looking down my nose at them, you have to comprehend is that somebody may give you an answer to a question, but where's their mentality? Like you could ask a lot of grown adults, grown men and women who look fine physically in the face and, who look mature and who look independent and, trustworthy. But it's another thing to actually live next to that individual and, and have an opportunity to really find out what's going on above the neck. And I think here, as I quickly get ready to yield, that is a big problem for us right now that we need to recognize, is that a lot of us are doing things with very good intentions, but we don't comprehend the long-term, result of some of those actions that we're taking. And I think that, once we get ready, whether it's in this lifetime or the next lifetime or the next generation, rather, to take these reins as, in terms of finding ourselves in this position and being prepared to take control, if you will, of certain matters and so on and so forth. You can't do that if you don't have numbers of people that are thinking that recognize certain, shall we say, intrinsic truths that are specific to a nation and a functional nation. Just like, to use like a quick analogy here, like a football team, a successful football team, whether it's soccer or so-called American football, is going to require certain things to be in place in order for it to be effective. Well, you need an offense, well, you need a defense, you need special teams, you need good coaching, you need good scouting, and then you need an owner that has a bankroll, and you need a stadium. Kind of like Nationality, like they have their own constitution, they have their own flags, they have venues, they have an infrastructure, etc. They have laws and all. So for someone to ask that question, they should be asking themselves, or someone may want to ask them, well, where do you see that in existence in large numbers? And then you want to ask them, well, have you looked into history? Like, have you read, White Cargo or White Slave and so on and so forth, or, things like that. Have you read They Came Before Columbus? And a lot of these people, that are even in their 40s and 50s, like myself, there are a lot of people that I've run into that are nice people or rather good people, but they're just ill-informed. And when they open up their mouths, and when they open up their mouths, then you can tell. That's why there's no need to argue with certain individuals, because as soon as they open up their mouths, they're letting the world know where they actually stand. And so I would turn it around on those individuals and I would ask them some questions so that I can see mentally where they're at and whether or not I want to continue having this conversation with this individual, and so on.
Well,
and I respectfully give the floor.
Islam. Well, I would say this, and Prophet already said it, and it's so true. That go back to the mindset of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. We now know, if we didn't before, that truth and falsehood is straight to it, that we've been lied to, that we haven't been given, the truth about history and heritage. So therefore, by knowing that, the answer to all of that and to what you said is, and that's what you're really saying, is to do the studies, to go back and learn about it, and to take yourself back to the mindset of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. Now, the problem with that, or the problem could be with that, and it's based on the lackadaisical, non-comprehensive manner in which we have been taught, but we already know we've been mistaught, so, all right, is that you're going to have to search for that information. And then we've done a lot of searching, and so have others, and put information out or whatever like that to get you started or to point you in the right direction. So, Prophet already gave you the answer. Go back to the mindset of your ancient foremothers and forefathers, because when you do that, that's where you find yourself. That's where you find what it is you need, instead of just dwelling in this present time of thinking, as you said earlier, that you are a member/citizen of a corporation or of a nation that has established corporations and told you that they that they are government when it's not, because you don't know what government really is, or you don't know what a nation really is. And earlier today I was speaking with Sharon, and we got to some conversation, and she had said something that made it's appropriate for right now. There is no other nation that can be on another nation's land, which is this American land estate. Everybody knows that these modern Europeans are foreigners, that these modern Europeans who originally came here as the slaves under the British rule. We know that. We know that they then came to the existing Congress at Philadelphia, September the 5th, 1774, and asked for the assistance to be free from the British rule and subject, and servant, and slave. And it was agreed that would happen. Everyone knows that Articles of Association is the articles where you can see that truth. At September the 5th, 1774, at Philadelphia, at the Congress already existed. And then they know that they got that, they made that Declaration of Independence, and then the Moors, through the representative title of Sultan, put out or established the treaty that allowed them to sail in the seas here freely without being molested. And then when they got here, it's like, all right, and here is the law of the land, the process of all activity. We all know this now, right? So you can't have another nation as such doing commerce on another nation's land without a treaty. So if you know that, then you know, all right, so that's what that treaty came from, that's what that was about. And that the offering or an acceptance of assistance with them to be freed from the British, all right, which were Moors. We want them over here to be slaves. And we agreed to, let's piece this out. That's why treaty of peace, all right? And now everybody can live in peace and just follow these divine principles, really, all right? and we're all be fine. Now, if what you're saying is so you're right. Ask the person who's saying what they're saying, why is it that you believe? Well, no, not why is it. We know why. But they believe that their existence is within 200, 300 years, and you can't tie yourself back to your foremothers and forefathers and think that your existence started at that time, or even that it started on a cell. It's not common sense. So now you have the responsibility to an obligation to honor your foremothers and forefathers and be who it is that you are, meaning that no one can change your descent nature. All right, so no one can change your descent nature, but you didn't know what your descent nature was. Now you do. So, yeah, you're right. The question is made to be asked. You didn't study that. You didn't know that. You didn't go and seek out that information because that was your directive to do so. And then when you do, all the little puzzle pieces that have been broken up and everything, they fit. They fit. So if you see that they fit, what happens is because we're still in the mental slavery, we can't seem to get out of what we believe is that, we only existed within the 200 or 300 years of these modern human beings who we know now, hell, they're the ones who came over here as slaves at that time. Because remember, all nations suffered slavery. But at that time, and we're putting ourselves in where we are on this North American continent, they're the ones who came over as slaves. So you have to release yourself from that falsehood. And no one can really do that for you, but getting that information, now some people don't want to receive the information. Now, as far as the people that you say you've met, and we all have, that are, like you said, 40, 50, 60, whatever, they never knew, they opened their mouth, they don't know. And those are probably the ones that were supposedly, quote, unquote, well-educated. So truth and falsehood has been strangely mixed and you've been lied to in that. And so I don't hold against my Europeans for telling their story and teaching what they want to teach in their curriculum. They don't owe that to you. We are supposed to be teaching our own, and that's why Prophet said have your own school, so that we could already know these things when we go out into the world. So the answer is always still the answer. Know about your own ancestry. So now, because we're raising up to have these discussions about that, look at what they have on television with the and all over the place, sending you stuff about ancestry, talking about this 10% this and 5% this and 13% that. That crap is ridiculous. There is a report that laugh about it because it's ridiculous. But we'll buy into it. Why would we buy into it? Because Moors have been hearing Moors tell them about their ancestry. So as soon as someone else, other than your brother Moor or sister, other than your Moors, other than your own nation, of family, tell you anything like, okay, what are they talking about, ancestry? All right, let's put this together. Oh, they'll jump right on it because, that's what they're talking about, ancestry and DNA and stuff like that. So let's offer this to them, and then they run right and delve into that to find out that it's all fraud. And not only is it fraud, and a lot of them, in the contract agreement, they are actually giving up their DNA, right? But had they did the studies that was offered, that says only 1% gives you stuff, they would have understanding of that. You see? And had they did the studies to know that it doesn't matter what folk corner of the earth you're on, we are the mothers and fathers of civilization on the planet. We first started it. So what makes it hard to receive that is because of the mental slavery. Not the physical necessarily, the mental. We're all talking about the physical, and we find out, too, they suffer slavery, too. So let's get off that bag. Let's get off that bag. You know what I mean? And let's look at the residuals, which is the mental slavery. That's more important. Why? Because man is mind. And we're in a mental slavery these days.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer is already existing. It's already there. And it may take some time, but that's why for us, coming now into the future and the present and the immediate present and the immediate future, because the present creates the future, you know what I'm saying? It's institutions of learning. And what we're going to end up having to do is just do that. You just have to do that and make it available. That's it. And for those who have eyes and ears to hear, so there they come. And for others, well, there's a lot going on out here. They might find themselves in the middle of the modern Europeans fighting and imploding amongst themselves and be a part of the blood spill that they don't have to be a part of, or they just might find themselves gobbled up, into this. I don't even like to talk about it, but continue to be gobbled up into what they believe is government, what they believe, and then those places and things and institutions and establishments that they believe is government will be making offers to them that they want to refuse but can't refuse because they don't have the equipment to know how. As an example, and I don't know if I mentioned this last week. Yeah, I do mention it. Like when we read some of the stuff, we don't really read what it says. We don't really comprehend. But why? Because we weren't taught in the schools that we went to comprehensive reading. So that's why again back to they keep going back, have your own schools. So the answers to our situation, rather than pointing fingers and always, bad mouthing and violating, our three is to just start to study. Start to go find out what it is that you really need to know, the wisdom that you see, That's the answer. So we can just stop, over there.
Yeah.
Just drop, please.
Yeah.
We got the answer.
Do I have time to make another quick comment?
Oh, yeah, I got a couple more callers, but that had, let's see what we got. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make this really quick. I was just thinking to myself while you were speaking, and as to why they ask why people ask certain questions or and so on. That thought came to me, and one of the things that came to me was that I wonder if you or anyone that has been asked that question has ever been asked this question by the same individual. What can I do to get started?
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna, like they're not gonna ask that question because that's not what their mentality is. Like their mentality is, to be the victim, to be, to be the underdog, and so because they don't truly have my assertion would be perhaps also is that they don't truly have a comprehension, or that they don't truly comprehend what nationality is. Like they think it's some club or some religious thing, like they don't really comprehend that nationality is bloodline. And I'll yield the floor and so that I don't eat up all the time. Islam.
Well, thank you for that. But yes, I believe because I'm looking for the best. They're trying to get the best in myself and look for the best in others, and also from my experience that most Moors really do want to know. But there are some, but they just don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. And then others, you're right, they lack that concept because it was never taught or told to them. Of course, Prophet Nationality told it, so at minimum, go look at what they put together and then then decide yourself, what you want to do about it. But I believe Moors want to. They just don't know how to because they don't have the concept. And that's what they got to go get. Correcting the concept. And the fact of what nation it really is, Yes. Well, thank you for your call, Pikari. And tomorrow is Wednesday, and I know you'll be on for the 7:30 MHHS Eyes Wide Open. Moor said the history school class at 7:30 will be broadcast. And I will certainly look forward to you being on there. Brother Asim is going to do the presentation that he didn't get to I won't say finish. He hardly was getting started. So it's going to be the sort of highlight of that broadcast. We'll go from there. All right? Islam. Thank you for your call. And let's see. I have 510-334, you're live on the air.
Islam. I was just listening to the broadcast. I'm Anthony Shanko Bey. And hi, Islam. Islam.
Yeah, how are you? Yeah.
I'm doing fantastic.
Wonderful. Let me hear more say they're doing fantastic.
In this day and age, that's all we can be. Well, that's all, but I don't have anything. I mean, I could say more.
Well, you had your hand up, so I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, you had your hand up, and that's why. But, you said enough to say that I'm fantastic. Like you said, we'd love to hear more say they're fantastic because the truth is, as Susan said earlier, this is really a good time for more. That's what I think.
Okay.
Do you agree, or you must say you're feeling fantastic?
Yes, I agree. Wholeheartedly.
All right.
Wholeheartedly.
Exactly. Well, it's good to hear from you. If you don't have any other comment or question, I'll go to the next call.
Okay.
Islam. Oh, did you have something to say?
Islam.
All right. Peace.
Well,
yeah.
I was going to say.
Yes.
I had a recent experience while traveling to Universal Studios from the Oakland airport. I've made the flight. It's just that TSA. In fact, in this particular part of it, the airline didn't even check my identification. I was traveling with my son, but TSA had me go through extra protocols, is what they said, because the identification didn't have their extra security mechanisms on it. He even said that he could have made this at home, but
No, go ahead. You said extra security mechanism. Go ahead. And I was wondering what that was.
I don't know what he's talking about, but I even showed him I even showed him the U.S. attorney, the nationality in the absence of
a national identification card. Yeah.
Yes, I showed him that, and he says, "Wow, I have to look that up." But I believe you, and they still had to go.
Really?
That's what he said. He said, "Wow, I have to look that up." All right, I'll trust you. We're just gonna take you through the extra protocols, whatever, and I made the flight, and it was just weird that our travel issues is with TSA, not with necessarily the, at least for me, airlines, with the airlines. But maybe they're all working together, but I know I need to send a writ to TSA possibly in the future to just completely bypass them. And that was just an interesting experience, traveling with the family. I'm the only declared Moor, but I'm still a Moor, no matter what.
That's right. So you did use your national identification card, and of course they might, like you say, take you through some extra measures. But I know some people who they don't take through extra measures. That's just who you have. But what and you were able to fly on it, correct?
Of course, yes. Yes.
Yes, that's happening a lot more now because now the interesting thing you said, and I think last week I mentioned this or the week before possibly, but I'll mention it again because I'll give that USC code that let me find it. I think it's 1508, but I don't want to say the wrong thing because that was a excellent example that I made as well. The last time I think we talked about it, it was a great example, and it's also an example of how some people may not comprehend what it actually says. That they'll read right past what it says and go straight into the other three. And look how they said it. They said commonly accepted identification. Now let me get it real quick. There we go. Here we go. I have found it, and I appreciate the sister Diane who sent this to me. But it, you can look it right up. She's doing her research, that's sure. And it's U.S. Title 18 USC 1028, and it says Section 1028 of Title 18 designates three special non-federal identification documents and gives them preferred treatment. Now listen closely to the next line. These three documents, in the absence of a national identity card, in the absence of a national identity card, are the prime means by which an individual can establish his identity. And then they call it, it's just common use. Why? Because if you don't have a national identification card, then all of these things apply. But if you have a national identification card, then they don't apply, right? So
that's right.
Now the question is, exactly. And
I have
a lot
a
of
question.
people, sure.
I have a question.
Sure.
Did you have to swipe your nationality card to do anything?
You know what, they that's the first thing they did. They put it up to like the barcode, something like you do in the supermarket to see if it'll scan. And then they was looking at it, and that's when he said some stuff. And but anyway, yeah, that's to answer the question. They tried it,
but there was no hindrance, because there was no hindrance due to you not having a barcode, though.
Right. There was no, not that part. No.
Yeah. Okay. And you had to bring that up because that's another thing that's all in the air right now is, and I get emails, and I'm sure people talk with you. I think you had to put something up about that, and it's like in the air right now. That's what I think they were talking about with the extra security measures. It's a barcode on the card that gives them all the information, which ties them into some registry and index, okay, which cannot and ought not ever go on an allodial national ID because a barcode means product, period, a commerce. A allodial ID, a national identification, cannot have a barcode. So there's people who have pretty much copied the same card that we have established and put a barcode on it and they have all these ones running after looking for a barcode. And think, oh, is the court going to have a barcode? No, because the person bearing it also becomes fraud.
Right.
A barcode means fraud. Yeah. So again, yeah.
You know, another thing too is just to put the Moor on blast. There's not something he's trying the nationality card, see if it works or whatever.
Right.
Like he studies to be able to demonstrate what he's demonstrating. Like he's not one of these Moors talking about, you know, no right to travel and, you know, delegation of authority got people killed and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, this is a Moor that studies. This is a Moor that we had conversations studying.
Yes.
So, you know that work got put in order for him to get this outcome. He's just not getting the outcome because he said he's a Moor. Right? So, like, sacrifices were made in order for him to be able to get that outcome that he got. Like, he sacrificed. Almost losing family and all that stuff. But, you know, considering the whole family went, everything's probably good.
Yes.
Right?
Well, I don't want to put him on blast.
Straighten everybody up. Birthright straighten everybody up. Especially since you use that nationality card that, you know, people had doubts about and stuff like that, and I don't know about that, and, you know, it's totally different when you put in your work and then people see the fruits of your labor, not you seeing it, because you already recognize what it is, but, you know, other people seeing the fruits of your labor. You know what I mean? Makes it really worth something.
Right, and because the other thing that you said that is something that more did to recognize too is that a lot of these they're all corporations, so they're not learning national principles. Hello, they're not. They're not used to seeing a national card because maybe one that they haven't been used. So more than used to them, and so that's not a problem. I mean, I myself have done that, thrown with it. So, you know, the interesting thing is that the person who's supposed to be in authority said to you after you cited the law, right? He said, "Oh, I got to check that out." So, what did you think that these people were truly government preserving the rights of the people? That they would already know that, and if they don't, they need to know. So maybe he's going to go find out. But they ought to already know that. However, because they don't, doesn't mean that you acquiesce. Because they said, well, we don't know nothing about that. They do need to know something about that. But it's the national duty to enforce these things that protect and preserve their rights of earth. And that's what you did. And you did it sincerely because, as you just said, you studied. And I have to say, I don't want to put you on blast either, but I remember when you first came into this, at least to my knowledge, when you first started having, you know, conversations back and forth. So you've come a long way, baby, as they say.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear you say. It's good.
Yeah,
I don't know if I have. You know, let me share this. I was on my way home. I was almost home. I was traveling, and the policy enforcer stopped me, and I wasn't kidnapped or anything. But he said, toward the end of our conversation, I understand your ideology. I really do, and that was. He let me go home to the family. I told him I'm just trying to go home to my family. You stopped me on a public road, something to that effect. And he understood exactly what I was talking about. He said something's going on with your plates. But in the long story short, again, just stand on what you know. And I think there's some, not I think. Yeah, just stand on what you know and get home.
Talking in an intelligent
That's
tone.
in the end.
Would you say
intelligent tone, yes.
in an intelligent tone? Because I think that is one of the problems our people have. They have a little bit of information. Maybe they have it all. Well, they don't have it all because they don't know to talk in an intelligent tone. They don't have it all. So then they'll start running off at the mouth and blah, 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 and causing a conflict of energy right there on the spot. Because how the outcome comes has a lot to do with how, because court is life, period. It's not in a courtroom or in so-called courtroom. It's right there. So I think, I will put it on the table, but I think that it's because of the not talking in an intelligent tone. And a lot of that is because you don't really know all that you need to know for what it is you're doing. Maybe that's why. I don't know why, but I think that is a big, from what I hear from people who share their experiences such as what you're doing, I found that the one key in it all for those who have quote-unquote success, if you will, doesn't mean that always happens because there's some, rogues out there. I think that's changing and getting a little less, but a lot less. But the intelligent tone situation, because they're hearing about, just like the TSA guy said, well, I didn't know anything about that law. Well, you do now, or you need to, or you will, And I think that's it. It's the manner in which you handle the situation sometimes, most of the time. Although that's not always the case, because like I said, especially if you go down in certain places in the South, or they don't have to be in the South because they are losing their foothold. They know it's just about over. You know what I mean? And they got some resistance, but for the most part, that's great.
Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Peace and love to all. Peace and love.
All right.
Islam.
All right. We have this person.
Oh yeah, and quick disclaimer. Quick disclaimer.
All right.
Don't think you could just go run out there, get the card, and go try what he did. Just to put it out there. Now that nationality works.
What did he do?
Right. Now that nationality cards work, don't be going out there, go rushing to go get a card, to go try, go on a plane because you have to visit your uncle in Germany or something. Because if you're not being what you know, nothing's working. Right? And there's a line, there's a place where being what you know is there's a place that where you know and exercising meets up and everything works with no problem. As soon as you start teetering on either side of not knowing or whatever, then stuff starts not working because you're falling off of the routine or the rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What you know is a rhythm that you get yourself on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? So you have to get yourself in rhythm. And once you get yourself in the rhythm, then you're good to go. Once you find that place where activity and what you know matches up, they come together, they Voltron.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can start exercising for real because you are being what you know. You're not being what you want to know. You're not being what you knew.
I like that. I'm going to use that now. Because you can only be what you know. So you guys out there being what you want to know, being what you know. I like that. I'm going to use that one.
You can't be what somebody else is. You got to do it yourself.
That's right. All right, let me go to the next caller, which is 323-507. You're live on, well, you'll be live on the air in just a second. It's a minute to fool around. Oh, there you go. 323-507. You're live on the air.
Islam. This is Mia Kamar Bay, calling from the North Gate.
All right.
Peace.
I just wanted to say real quick that the universe has been working. Me and my consort were just talking about that. Like, every time we call, the same things that y'all are talking about, we literally were talking about right before we called. Like, the universe is working.
That's the universe talking.
Yeah,
you know?
talking, yeah. But it's crazy.
It's all in the air. It's all in your mind. It's all in your mind. It's all in the air. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, it just means we're on the right path. But I just had a question about basically dealing with kind of something similar to what the brother was saying, like maybe 2 phone calls ago, about dealing with like friends and family and kind of like moving forward on being an active Moor, like having certain when you get the information, you kind of want to tell people that you care about. So, for instance, like I had a couple of friends that I brought over and I told some stuff and showed some things. And they didn't have, the type of reaction that I was expecting, kind of like, it's like I didn't even say anything. Like, when I hear these things from me, I feel like, okay, I'm in war, like, these are the things I need to start studying. I need to start being more active. Like, this is a life or death thing for me. So it's kind of got to the point where I've, like, made major sacrifices, like actually not talking to friends, cutting them off, because they're just not on the same frequency that I am, Like, I can't talk to them. I can't have a conversation because they're not living in a real world, and I can't resonate with that. So, what was that?
How did they deal with it?
How did you deal with it? Like,
how do you deal with it? Well, let's see. Dr. Noble-Jolie knew that would be a question that you might ask. So he said, if you are the only one, be the only one. All right? Also, if you can't convince someone that they are not Negro, colored, and black, do not try to tell them anything else.
Okay.
Do you get that? Now,
I totally get that. I mean, I totally get that. That's kind of where I was at, and it, like, I don't know, like, sometimes I feel like I'm going a little too hard in the paint about, really cutting people off, because I feel like that can be compromised.
That might be that might be, yes, you got to be careful, though, because they may end up hurting you, because the light that you might be bringing, remember, the light is very bright, and some people shun from it, so you could be hurt. That's why, like, when you say, aside from family who you love and it's hard to, you want to help them, and then you mentioned friends. Be careful, because they can end up hurting you, not meaning to, but because they just don't know. And so you can get yourself into a position where they end up being the one that brings you harm. That's why if you're the only one, be the only one, and that's why, it appears that you may have to, most people do, have to back away from those people that aren't on it. Now, Cujo, I hear that you wanted to make a comment. Go ahead, to the sister.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that the ones that don't want to know, how you're dealing with them is exactly how you deal with them. You know what I mean? You keep them at a 10-foot pole distance from yourself, and continue doing whatever it is that you do. Because regardless what, they're not going to want the birthright. But and of course, it's due to their brainwash or whatever. They're not ready for it yet or whatever like that. That's on them. They got to deal with that. But the people who want to know, I think a lot of it is the whole peer pressure concept, that it's just you. So try to deal with people not in groups. Deal with them on a one-way. So you and them could have an intimate conversation about what you're talking about, whether it's let's go get a bagel and a tea at some spot and sit down and build, or come to my house, or I'll come to your house. But, you know, the ones that want to know, deal with them on a personal, so that way you can show personal experience as to how you think this is benefiting you. Because, like there was a brother, for example, that, you know, there was maybe a group of maybe like 8, 9 of us, and probably 3 of us were, you know, sound mind, you know what I mean? We're building while everybody else playing video games or whatever. And then there was one dude that was always, you know, kind of back and forth. Like, you know, he'll come, listen to some stuff, give some comments, and go back over and go do the video games, and then come back over, and then, you know, while everybody else is staying. So maybe about, like, a year ago or something like that, he calls me up because he got his number from somebody who got his number from somebody, because, well, I knew that you were the man to talk to because you always knew something, right, when it came into the information about Moors or whatever. You know, like, this is somebody who, you know, yeah, he had potential. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't loose cannon or completely out of the loop. You know what I mean? Like, he was somebody that we looked at like, yeah, he's gonna one day the light's gonna go off for him. You know what I mean? So know that amongst all these zombies, there's some people who are pretending to be zombies.
Right. And
that's everybody in the head with a spiked bat.
Right. But that's what we've been doing. I mean, I'm not alone at all, but because I have my consort. But that's what we've been doing. I'm just, you know, it's just nice to hear.
Oh, great to hear.
Great to hear. You know, kind of like where you guys were. How did you deal with it?
But a lot of people from that show me state, you know, like, you know, y'all say, they want to see with their eyes.
Those are the worst ones. Those are the worst ones. Right
exactly.
There.
Exactly.
They are those worst. Because even after you show them, they still ain't going to be able to see. Then you got to show them something else. There's something else. There's something else. You know, those
like, we show people certain definitions. We show people certain definitions, like, oh, yeah, look at the etymology of black. Look at this. And they say, oh, well, who wrote the book? Well, what book saw you going off in your daily life? You know.
The same person that wrote all your books, the Europeans. But, I mean, it's incompetent. Basically, the questions that I've had are super incompetent. And I compete when people are, like, playing dumb, you know. This is where I'm at, where, like, basically I don't have any friends. I barely talk to my family because it's that serious to me, you know. But
see,
that's not
they don't want it.
That's not gonna lie.
They don't want it.
Because I mean, you have to remember too that regardless of what, everybody, zombie or whatever, they have subconscious mind that's picking up everything, regardless of whether they're aware of it or not. So all we got to do is, you know, show them that definition. Whatever they do with it, they'll do with it when the time comes for them to do something with it. But at least they can't say that they weren't told, and we can't, you know, say that we didn't tell them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? At least you show them what the etymology of black was. Whatever they do with it, that's up to them, because it's their birthright. You can't really do anything for them. You know what I mean? But they were told, so, you know, eventually something's gonna happen where it's gonna come up again, and they're either gonna act on it or they're gonna deny it, which is gonna send them further into the oblivion, you know what I mean, of nothingness. And then they're gonna come up again, and then they're gonna deny it. Then it's gonna send them further, and then when they're hanging on by their fingernail, that's when they're gonna call you to help them with whatever.
Yeah.
You know? And even though we could,
believe me, we're gonna get that.
Even though we could step on their finger or whatever and make them fall off the precipice, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're still gonna lift them up, you know what I mean? Even they've been denying their birthright for the past 20 years, on their deathbed, they're talking about now they want to be a Moor. We're still going to put them onto some invoke. You know what I mean? And square them up just because at least they came to their common sense and came back around, even if it's on their deathbed. At least they realize.
One more thing.
Okay.
There's some people that say, oh yeah, there's some people that say, yeah, when y'all figure out all the information, come
tell us. You're looking at them like,
come get you. Okay. Yes. Those are right, exactly. Those are the show me ones. Those are the words. I'm telling you, don't concern yourself at all with that. You gave it to them. Now the last thing that I want to say to you is, and I always say this, also remember this, even those who do hear it and want to hear it, there's something that they're going to go through called an exorcism, because this is the true exorcism in baptism. They're going to have to exercise out all the lies and all the things, to put this information in their head. And then doing that exorcism, and you gave them information, doing that exorcism, they may, I use the analogy of that movie where their head spins around and she sticks up, the green pieces on the exorcism. Okay, you have to make sure that you don't get that thrown on you. So you give them the information, let them go through what they have to go through, and be very careful, that you don't get thrown up on with that. And then they'll be able to go through the baptism of receiving information. And this is also why the prophet said that he said that, man, I lost my train of thought with this, but, he said that I could tell you everything, but you would go back to sleep, right? And he said that. I would tell you the half has not been told. If I tell you everything, you would go back to sleep, because you may experience someone you're talking to who wants to hear what you're saying, and they're standing right in front of you, and they're listening, and you watch them, their brain just goes to sleep because it's too much for them to complete until they have, right. So until they have their exorcism, and then they clear their head and get out all that other stuff, and then they can have the baptism of in the waters of knowledge. So you got to be careful of those as well. All right.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So,
all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling.
All right. Thank you.
Believe me, someone else is going through the same thing. So thank you for sharing. All right.
All right.
Islam. And Islam. And we have just 2 more callers in about 10 minutes or so. Let's see, we have 661-273. You're on the air. State your appellation and your question or comment.
Islam. This is Shafi. I'm in where am I? Los Angeles County area, Palmdale Territory. And I want to comment, on the last couple of callers and everything. Regarding TSA, I got my ID, I think it was last year. I didn't give it a second thought. I actually was trying to get a passport. And starting, let me back it up. I saw my birth certificate for the first time in my entire life, November 4th, 2008. That's the same day, coincidentally, Obama was elected the first time, right? And I got the birth certificate because after being rejected 4 times because I was trying to get the passport, not knowing that I'm a Moor at that time. Fast forward, on the birth certificate, I find out my mother named me with a last name of Amavisca, which is Mexican, and a name is not a very common last name. So even my birth certificate is a lie, because I never knew about that until 2008, which was how long ago? 9 years ago? I was 51 years old when I learned first time ever seeing that. So now that I know I have no name, the name that I've been told to go by, I've always known was a tag, and I've used that all my life. Well, I've always known, again, that wasn't the truth. And then this Amavisca name is definitely not the truth, because the person that is my father, I have a photo of. All right. So I realize, okay, I have no name. I really am last name X. So I call to the universe, who am I? And then I bump into RVBey Publications. How about that? Then I'm like, who are these people? Then I meet Taj Tariq Bey, and I find out that's you. So I'm loving everything. I've been face, buried, heart, whole body, everything, planted daily in studying. Okay, I have to take a breath because I'm, Anyway, studying and learning who I am. And at first, I was acting like Chicken Little, running around telling everybody, hey, you got to wake up, you got to know. And, of course, people were shunning me and my family and friends. And, oh, well, I'm used to being shunned because I've always been told I was out in the cosmos. All right. So I've since learned to calm down, just basically lead by example, learn this, live it. And as I learn and live, people are now starting to come to me, ask me questions. That I found has been the better way to deal with this. And then as they want to know more, then I feed them the information, starting with square one information. And as they want to know more, then they come back. Now, going to TSA. So I get my ID last year. I don't think twice about booking my reservation to go see Taj in Sacramento territory, booking my air flight in my my appellation and title. Get to book, check in my luggage. They looked at the airport, Burbank Airport, looked at my ID and go, oh, that's different. Okay, you're in, and no problem. Get to TSA, and this little, I'm not even going to describe him, but anyway, he's like, I've never seen this before. Supervisor. And one of the children of the colonies, who is very butchy-like, comes over, being very mean. She looks at it. She goes, I don't know what this is. She calls her supervisor, who happens to be a sleep Moor. He looks at it. They're looking at the overall. They're not reading anything. Oh, I don't know what this is. And to answer the brother when he said they put it under their little scanner, what they told me at Burbank was the hologram that's on the RVBey ID does not match any hologram that's in their books, okay? So for that reason, they couldn't recognize it. I go, well, okay, fine. Can you, take a moment and read any of the information that's on here? Now, they finally agreed. The manager finally said, okay, let's just call it secondary ID and searcher, all but strip search. And I stood there, and there was two females on me, front and back, going under my clothes with the wand, front and back at the same time. A man was going through my handbag and carry-on as soon as I noticed it, then I called him out and told him to, take his hands off of my personal property. And he's, ma'am, I have to do my job. No, dude, while I got my arms out to the side and these wands all over the place, I'm telling him, no, what you're doing is against the law. Okay, all of this is against the law, but however, what you're doing is really against the law. You're a male, I'm a female. You have no business putting your hands on my female property. So at that point, he threw his hands up and then called the female over. How about that? He knew he was out of line in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. He also asked me, did I have any other form of ID with this, as they called it, name on it? Well, of course I have all three pieces of the, ID, the student ID card, the travel card, and my ID card. And I knew what they were asking, so I just gave them all three of those. And they're like, no, this won't work. Do you have a credit card? I'm like, what is the credit card going to do when it doesn't have a picture on it? I know some do, but now I was in bitch mode, so I didn't care. I just said, what's the credit card going to do? And it hit me. I knew what they were doing. If I was conducting business using that name, then it would have legitimized the ID. Even if I had a piece of mail, which I now know to even carry at the very least if I choose to do this again, which I'm planning to go up to Sacramento next month to see Taj anyway, if I plan to do this again, to make sure at the very least I have some mail or something proving that I'm doing business. Their intent was to demonstrate to them that I was not trying to use this ID as some way to escape from something or another, okay? So fast forward, when I went up last year to Sacramento, we went up to see Dr. RVBey, so I ended up being the chauffeur for him and his princess. So in picking them up, I asked him, do you use your national ID free national ID when you travel? And he said he did. Told me that he did something with the I-9 form and a postage stamp and blah, 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 which we didn't get to do the final details, but I've kind of gotten the gist of what needs to happen since then. Well, okay, so because I knew I didn't at that point, I now know I don't have all my facts in order. My ducks are definitely not in a row. So to avoid any further hassle, Burbank being a small airport, Sacramento twice way bigger, I thought, let me just go and change my reservation back to Mayans Legis. The birth certificate, not even my birth certificate name, the name I've been using on everything forever, and go home, study, get my act together, and next time come out right. Okay. Well, I was traveling via Southwest, so they told me I had to go and do this change in person. This is crazy. So I'm believing, because I'm all in the cosmos, I'm believing the bigger part of why this happened was for this main part right here. When I'm standing in line, there's at least 9, 10 agents working with people, and we're in this big old long line that's wrapping around and zigzagging, right? So I get to my turn. Who services me? The only other Moor on the row happens to be the one I see. And I get up to her, and she said, and I showed
It's Mom Zone. Breaking news, the Fremont family declares where they're going for back to school.
The Fremonts are going with Academy.
Mrs. Fremont,